Welcome to Stories with Soul. I am your host, Jamie Ice, musician turned entrepreneur and co-founder of 6th Ave Homes and 6th Ave Storytelling. Over the past 10 years, I have launched multiple successful businesses and have become obsessed with all things entrepreneurship and marketing. I've been on a personal quest to unpack what it takes to make and grow a great brand. One thing that I've discovered is that stories are powerful and that storytelling has the power to set a brand apart. Join me as I dive into the stories of the heavy-hitting leaders, entrepreneurs, artists, and business owners in our community to hear their biggest wins, greatest losses, and their best business secrets. There's a story behind every great brand. Welcome to Stories with Soul. Stories with Soul is brought to you by 6th Ave Storytelling, an organic marketing company building standout brands on the foundation of story. We help small businesses grow by crafting and sharing their stories, because when small business thrives, cities and communities prosper. Stories with Soul is brought to you by the Fort Worth Business Press, your source for news and business information in and around Fort Worth. Sign up for the Business Press's twice daily newsletter or become an insider using the storytelling coupon code STORYTELLING10, all one word, to stay up to date with the people, companies, and issues that matter most to Fort Worth. Head to fortworthbusiness.com to subscribe. I am a huge fan of the Business Press. I've been a subscriber for years. It keeps me up to date with everything that is going on in Fort Worth. Love it. Go subscribe for the newsletter. You won't regret it. Welcome to Stories with Soul. I am your host, Jamie Ice. I'm joined by my co-host, Jimmy Williams. And we have a very special guest in the house today, one of my favorite people, Fritz Rahr, who I would argue is the king of craft beer in Fort Worth. You introduced craft beer to our city. When I think of our city's beer, I think of Rahr. But you are the CEO and the founder of Rahr Sons Brewing Company. You're a fifth generation brewer. You come from a family of brewers.
Yeah.
And Rahr, not only do I feel like you're an institution in Fort Worth, but you guys have won like an insane amount of awards across the country just because you're making great stuff. How many, I asked you this earlier, but I'm going to put you on the spot again now. How many awards have you guys won, and what kind of awards has
I can't tell you how many, because there's been a lot.
So many.
There's a lot of beer competitions around.
More than 10, 20?
Okay. Maybe add a few zeros to it. I don't know.
Really?
There's so many beer competitions, and it's fun to enter them, especially for the brewers and the production people and all the employees of the company. But really for the guys and gals who make, package, and baby the beer along the way.
Yeah.
So if you win something, it's kind of like bragging rights. You got a little extra step in your step, and so it's always fun. But there are about 4 really big beer competitions that we try to do really well at, and it's very difficult. Just placing, bronze, silver, or gold, any of those 3 is a huge win for the brewery. So those are, in my opinion, our Great American Beer Festival, which happens every year up in Denver. And then there's the World Beer Cup, and that happens every other year.
So that's global.
World Beer Cup is global.
That's like the World Cup of beer.
Yes.
That makes sense.
World Beer Cup. Yeah. And then there are 2 over in Europe that we really like to participate in. And one, especially for us being kind of a German heritage type brewery, is the Euro Beer Star Award, and that's held in Nuremberg every year for 3 years, and then on a 4th year they do it in Munich during the Oktoberfest. Mm-hmm. And for us, entering a German style beer and winning gold, silver, or bronze over there.
You won gold?
Is amazing. Yeah, we've won numerous ones at the Euro Beer Star. And what's fun,
a Fort Worth, Texas brewery.
We've won
in Germany.
We've won with Oktoberfest. We've won with a with Regulator, which is a German style Doppelbock, and our German wheat beer. We actually tied, I think, for silver maybe, or maybe it was gold. I can't remember. For our wheat beer, our what we call hazy Hefe now, with Weinstephaner's Bavarian style wheat beer. So when we win these things, I will actually literally get on a plane, go over and attend the ceremony because it's just such a hoot.
Are the
to be an American,
to
be an American there,
Are they mad
placing, maybe kind of. I think I get away with it. I get away with it because when they announce the award, they say Fritz Rahr. So they're expecting some German dude to get up, right?
Yeah.
But then they say Rahr Sons Brewery, Fort Worth, Texas, United States, and you could just hear all these stubborn, Germans going, you could just feel the tension. And I just, you just strut up to the front and accept the award and take your picture, and you could feel it in the air. It's so much fun, and they think it's fun too, obviously. Yeah. But there's a lot of home field advantage, home field turf when talking about brewing German style beers and winning in that category over there. They also have like the American style IPA category and all that stuff, but being an American, you should win in that category over there, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of our bailiwick. So when you can go over there and actually pull one of the medals out in a German style category is so much fun. I just giggle. I really do. It's just so much fun, and we try to take as many people over as we can and do that. And of course, as part of the world's largest trade show for beer, it's called Brau in Nuremberg. They've got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of square feet of trade show going on. So it's intermingled with that. So it's kind of a business trip as well. We'll go over there and we'll spend an extra week and go through Belgium or Netherlands or through Germany, or maybe all through, working our way back down to Nuremberg or Munich, and visit a whole bunch of different breweries for the experience and to talk to their brewers as an educational type adventure for everybody. So every time that we get a chance to place at that one is really great. And then the other one is the Brussels World Beer Challenge.
And y'all have won that too.
We've won that one too, quite a few times too, in different
USA
categories.
Chant. Like a USA. We need that right now.
So it's so much fun to be able to go over there and do that.
What about the World Cup?
That's what he said. The World Cup.
No.
The World Beer Cup is held every other year here in the United States, and we've won a few times at that one too.
Okay, Fort Worth, Texas, craft beer is crushing other countries. The world,
not other states,
not other states, not the city.
I tell you what, Texas in general, from the craft beer, they do really, really well at a lot of these competitions. There's a lot of good beer being made in the state, and I'm really proud to say that.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
all you hipster beer makers out there, you're in the right spot. You don't need to go to Denver to brew your beer.
I will also say, to add to your collection, you win the podcast guest award because you're the first person to ever bring us treats and stuff to
beer.
Well, I got to ask a question. Am I the first brewer on the podcast?
You are the first brewer on the podcast, but you're the first person to bring us.
I need to open one.
So if you're watching, you can see this, but there's like this.
It is Oktoberfest season. So.
Case, and then so we're gonna crack some open right now. I am in an Enneagram 7, so I can't ever make up my mind. So I'm gonna drink the.
Well, you
Rahr.
should just open up multiple and just sip from various cans.
Oh, this is a chelada?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were doing a chelada.
Sure.
Oh, that's fun.
I am grabbing a winter warmer.
I got a winter warmer
because
that's like the best
of
beer
all time, and it's so good.
Ever.
You don't? Is this do you have a favorite, or you just go through them all?
It's funny. I used to have a joke.
That's tasty.
Here we go.
Because we brew so many different beers, and people always ask me, what's your favorite beer that you make?
Yeah.
And I always joke, and I said, that's really a tough question. I can tell you which one of my sons I like better, but not which beer I like better. And it brings a giggle just like that. And of course, that's not true because I love my boys both equally. But it really depends on what I'm in a mood for.
Yeah,
Like right now, I just kind of wanted that biscuity, bready warmth that comes through with the Oktoberfest, because it's getting a little chilly outside, so a little bit darker beer just feels right. But it could be 100 freaking degrees tomorrow, and I'll crack open a blonde or Adios or Rahr's Original
Do you ever get beered out? Where you're like, I've drank so much beer, I need
it's funny, at my accelerated age that I'm at, it gets harder and harder to drink the amount of beer that you'd used to drink when I was in my 20s and 30s. It just doesn't work as well. I can't day drink anymore because, like right now, if I had more than this, I would have to go back to the brewery, take a nap, go home, take a nap, and I may not wake up until tomorrow morning. I'm horrible. I'm a cheap date. So,
and you also like. Last time I saw you were talking about you had just made some like white wine.
My wife, my wife Tara and I were, it's funny. They say vintners go home, drink beer, and brewers go home and drink wine. And to be honest, I wouldn't say it's 100% true all the time. But I probably drink more wine at home than I do drinking beer at home. Just because I'm around it all day. I'm around it all day long. I'm sipping on it. Not all day long, but here and there during the day.
You got to taste.
And making wine is just something a little bit different. It's fun. It's something that Tara and I can share together. And
will there ever be a commercial release, or this is just?
Well, it's called TNF Vineyards. We have labels and everything. So it's fun. Yeah, we bottle and label our own wine, and we have 2 big wine closets in the house filled with our wine. And
if that doesn't scream entrepreneur, I don't know what does.
We always joked about, if the beer thing doesn't work, maybe we can make wine.
Yeah, the beer thing is working. Okay, so
let's get to our podcast.
This is the longest intro I've ever done. But this is really good. Okay, the thing, I was reading your bio, and I knew like your family was somehow in the beer industry.
Somehow.
But we're talking. Wait, hold on. Let me pull my notes back up. Fifth generation. What you sent me is your family has been brewing beer in the United States for 170 years.
Well, I think it's almost 170. 1847 to now. So is that 170? 174?
Yeah.
Wow.
174 years.
Okay.
That's a long time.
Tell us about that.
So, when all the free-thinking Germans were being pushed out of Europe during the middle 1800s, and they all went to Texas, or they went to Wisconsin or into Minnesota. My family entered the United States. My great-great-grandfather came over with his wife and landed really in Buffalo, New York area, and then went through the Great Lakes chain and ended up in this little lakeside town called Manitowoc, Wisconsin.
Okay.
It's really funny because years ago when I told Manitowoc, Wisconsin, nobody knew where the hell that was, right?
I still don't know where that is.
Okay, well, a lot of people know now because of the TV show Making a Murder.
Oh, that's right.
So now when I say Manitowoc, they're like, oh, we know where that is.
Okay.
So 1847, they set up shop in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. Wasn't another brewery around. There wasn't another malting facility to make malt for beer around. So they decided to open up the brewery, but they also had to make their own malt because there wasn't a malt supply. So from 1847 up until the early 1880s, my great-great-grandfather had a brewery and a malting facility. And at that time, it was known as the Eagle Brewery. So before Budweiser, before anybody else, there was the Eagle Brewery in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, also known as...
Predating Budweiser.
Yeah, also known as the Rahr Brewery. In 1880, I think it was 1880, I'm pretty sure, that my great-great-grandfather had a very unfortunate accident and actually fell into a brew kettle. He laughs. He died. I mean, come on.
You're laughing.
I'm laughing because it's just so, that's crazy.
It is crazy. And I tell the story, and of course, everybody giggles, and then when they realize that I'm actually being serious, they feel really, really bad. So I'm waiting for the waiting for the bad part to come out here.
It's ironic laughter.
I'm picturing that scene in Willy Wonka where he falls in.
When the kid falls in the chocolate river.
I mean, that's what I'm like.
It's kind of like that.
Incredibly unfortunate, but
it is unfortunate.
So ironic.
So from that, he had 3 sons. He had William II, he had Maximilian, and Reinhardt.
Okay.
Reinhardt was the first name.
Reinhardt was
his first name.
Yeah, Reinhardt was his first name.
Great name.
Yeah,
Reinhard Rahr. Isn't that a great name?
That's a great name.
Germans have some really cool names.
Yeah.
This episode of Stories with Soul is brought to you by 6th Ave Storytelling. At 6th Ave Storytelling, we know that stories aren't just for bedtime, they're powerful marketing tools, and we've seen what they can do. Want to see for yourself? Download our free PDF, The Storytelling Pathway, on our website, 6avstorytelling.com. It's everything your business needs to be successful. This is what I've used to grow my businesses and hundreds of others. It's a strategy that has led to #1 albums, built large followings, and has helped generate millions of dollars in revenue, thousands of leads, and tons of traffic. I've seen client after client reach their goals, which is why I'm crazy excited to share it with you today. I'm offering this for free because it's my personal mission to support small business owners and entrepreneurs no matter where they are at on their journey. Because small businesses are the heartbeat of a city, and they really are what make it special. 6th Avenue Storytelling has helped brands across the country grow their business using these exact steps. Head to 6avstorytelling.com and download the Storytelling Pathway to get your step-by-step guide today. Stories with Soul is brought to you by Fort Worth Business Press. The Fort Worth Business Press has been instrumental for me as a business owner. They were actually the first publication to ever cover 6th Avenue homes and also 6th Avenue Storytelling, which were huge wins for our companies. I also have been following along for years. I've been a subscriber. It has allowed me to keep up to date with everything that is happening in the business community and see what other business owners are doing and just stay involved in all sort of the economic development of what is happening in Fort Worth. If you are in any way involved in business, you should go subscribe and sign up for their publication, sign up for their twice daily newsletter, and they're actually offering a storytelling discount right now if you listen to the podcast. Become an insider using the storytelling code storytelling10, all one word, lowercase, to stay up to date with the people and companies and issues that matter most. Visit fortworthbusinesspress.com to sign up today.
Anyway, so the three boys renamed the company to the William Rahr Sons company in honor of their father. And later on in that decade, there was a big fire and it destroyed the entire brewery. And the entire town kind of came back and helped rebuild it because that factory was the main employment for a lot of the town.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was very much a community effort. They were very much involved with the community. My great-great-grandmother was a teacher. She taught German. She taught English. She helped out the Native American families around there, teaching them how to speak English and some other things. Very involved in the community. And then prohibition.
That's right.
But they were smart Germans.
Okay.
Like we were all smart Germans,
Okay.
right?
Naturally.
And they saw prohibition coming. So they got out of the brewing aspect of the business altogether. Mm-hmm. Now, by this time, we had the main facility in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, which had the brewery and the malting facility, but we also had two more malting facilities, one in Chicago and one in Milwaukee.
Okay.
My great
Making malt
specifically just as a secondary business. So our secondary business kind of became our first primary business. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, you can't make beer.
And during this whole process, my great-great-grandfather's nephews came over and worked at the Manitowoc facility, and then they left and opened up their own breweries in Green Bay and Oshkosh. Okay. So by the turn of the century, we had 3 breweries in Wisconsin and 3 or 4 malting facilities as well in Wisconsin. So prohibition came. My immediate family sold off all the brewery equipment and just maintained making malt. And then when prohibition hit, they could still make malt. They could still sell it into Canada. Sure. They were selling malt to people like General Mills, Pillsbury, for cereal products. Mm-hmm. They were making malt coffee.
Okay.
For example, during World War I, kind of funny, they actually had to get a patent approved and buy rights from the Prussian or Bavarian or German government at that time to make the malt coffee that we were producing for the troops to go be used in World War I while they're fighting the Germans. It's so convoluted. Crazy. It's so weird. So
Now, question: is there any side stories of some bootleg type operations going on with them?
Surely there was some bootleg.
I'm sure there was. I personally, I don't know of. I wish I did have some juicy stories like
We're
that.
We're gonna pretend like they were secretly making awesome beer the whole time, hooking up their friends and family and stuff.
I'd like to think there were, because in the part of Wisconsin that the family was, all the gangsters and from that period, they were all going up to northern Wisconsin to hang out.
Yeah.
You know, one of the places up by, we have a small family cabin up northern Wisconsin. It's right by Little Bohemia, where John Dillinger and his gang got, nailed by the feds. You probably saw Public Enemy, the movie with Johnny Depp. Yeah. So that's right up there. So they were all up there. So I would imagine at some point in time during that period, there was some malt that found its way to distillers making some moonshine or something else. But
what I'm hearing is that John Dillinger was drinking some Rahr whenever he
wouldn't that be something if I could find a picture all of a sudden you see a bottle of Rahr beer?
That would be incredible.
Yeah, with the bullet hole right through the middle of it.
That'd be cool.
So Prohibition came and went, and then after Prohibition, we didn't have the brewing equipment anymore.
That's right.
But we still had all the malting equipment. So during Prohibition, we were making malt and also grain handling. Wheat, flour, all that type of stuff. So after Prohibition, they just went back into making malt for beer, and that's when the name of the company turned to Rahr Malting Company, and that's what we've been doing ever since. I'm a 5th generation brewer, maltster.
So was your dad in the?
My dad was in the family business. He was a maltster, and
so you grew up in Wisconsin?
I grew up in Minneapolis. So in the 60s. The barley crop and farming of barley kept moving further and further west because corn subsidies were taking over, and all that planting area was being taken over by corn. Okay. So back then, being closer to the supply lowered your costs.
Yeah.
So we still had the malting facility in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, but they built one in the Minneapolis area as well to get closer to the malt the barley that was being produced in the Red River Valley over by North Dakota. But now it doesn't matter. The barley comes from all over the place now.
And are those plants still in the
I want to say, gosh, was it 1980s? We sold the Manitowoc facility to Anheuser-Busch.
Wow.
They operated it for years and years. They shut it down, and then the Brees family bought the Manitowoc facility, and they've reopened it, and they are making malt out of that facility again.
Okay.
So, but we have our place. My family has their place in Minneapolis, and they also have a malting facility up in Alex, Alberta. And that family business, the Rahr Malting family business, has expanded quite a bit globally.
Really?
To providing craft brewers with hops and brewing supplies and malt. And
so I'm assuming your stuff comes from there.
We buy a lot of our stuff through a company called Brewer Supply Group, which is a subsidiary of Rahr Corp.
Wow.
But the family business has actually expanded. They own a small tomato growing operation.
Really?
They own some distribution in Europe and a distribution company in New Zealand, and it's really kind of fun. It's really a global operation now.
Wow!
So
it expanded.
It's growing up
and it's still in the family.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think I'm 99.99% positive, but we're the family business is the oldest privately owned company in the nation, still held within the immediate same family.
No way.
That is wild.
It's crazy.
Were you supposed to do that? Like, were you supposed to go back and work for?
It's weird. At some point in time, I think I wanted to, but I came down to TCU as a student athlete at TCU. I'll tell you, but you can't roll around on the ground laughing. You can laugh, but you just can't really get hysterical. Believe it or not, about 100 pounds ago, this body flew through the water.
Oh, I knew that. You told me you were
I was a swimmer at TCU.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So think of me a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
And I came back for my master's too after I went to brewing school in Chicago, and somehow I got railroaded into the railroad business for about 10 years. So,
and was that like a, like whenever you grow up and your dad and your granddad are, I don't know, blacksmith, and you're like, you know what I'm going to do? Anything but being a blacksmith. Was it like a rebellious type of like, you know what, I want to do my own thing, make my own stamp on the world for a little bit?
I think maybe a little bit.
Okay.
But I always loved the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, growing up in the beer industry was awesome.
Was it fun?
My family vacations, a lot of them were going to beer conventions.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I got to go to a lot of really cool places around the world, around the United States. Mm-hmm. And as I became a young teenager, they became a lot of fun. Because there was just nothing but free-flowing beer everywhere. And I think by the time I got to my mid-teens, my parents were kind of like, it's probably not the best thing to bring the kids.
He's enjoying this a little.
It's just having too much fun. And I was into swimming, and I didn't go there a lot. So, but yeah, growing up in the beer industry was great. I'd go down to the factory and get to walk around. I got to meet some of the really, at that time, what I would consider the really cool people in brewing, the Bushes, a lot of the Millers, all those people, a lot of the big super regionals in the time, and then around the Minneapolis area, like Shell's Brewery, the Martys were an amazing family up there in New Ulm, Minnesota. And yeah, it was a pretty cool thing to grow up in. Yeah. I could think of a lot worse industries.
And so you realized it was cool at the time.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, that's
because all my friends were like,
geeking out.
Can you get me beer? I go, can't get you beer. I can get you a bag of malt.
Yeah.
We don't make beer anymore, but I can get you some barley malt. It tastes really good. It's yummy, Yeah. So yeah, growing up, it was just really awesome. So,
do you remember when you had your first beer? Like
I do, absolutely.
I remember the first time my dad gave me a sip of beer.
I was probably 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And my parents were having a summer party at the house with friends and stuff. And I think I went and I got a Coke out of the cooler. Mm-hmm. And my dad came over and jerked that Coke out of my hand and put a Budweiser in my hand. He said, if you're going to drink anything, at least drink something that has some nutritional value. That was awesome. And I think I got a third of the way through the can, and I was like, I'm done. I think I went and took a nap.
So
I don't think my mother appreciated
your
that.
Your 7-year-old
but
self and your now self are about in the same beer drinking.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. I have one, maybe 1.5 beers, and I'm like, lights out.
Man,
no, it wasn't like when I wasn't drinking beer all the time.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
Occasionally at the dinner table, my dad would pour, like a shot glass of Budweiser or Miller or something, just to
experience.
Yeah,
I feel like
it wasn't an experience. It was just part of the kind of the daily routine,
But
it wasn't such a big deal.
It's an American thing that we have done in recent history, where kids. Granted, I don't think kids should go drink lots of beer, but in other cultures, like you would have a glass of wine, or it'd be watered down, or you would taste things. We have.
Yeah.
So I think that was, and it was part
it's
of your
crazy.
heritage
You go
and
over to Europe. If you are lucky enough to be able to sit down with a local family for dinner or something, they've got table wine, which is an 8% alcohol product, or they have the beer, and really beer's part of the daily diet, even for not small kids, but young teenagers. I mean, it's just they don't sit there and they gobble it all down. They'll have a glass of beer with their thing because sometimes water is not always so available, and it's it's not like a lot of places you can just drink it out of the tap.
You couldn't drink water, so you had to drink wine, you had to drink beer.
Yeah, you drink something else. So I was fortunate to be exposed to a lot of that. So by the time I did get to my high school days and everyone's like planning the secret party somewhere, I'm just kind of going,
like, I've been around this.
I don't know, why don't you guys just come over to my house? My parents will give you a beer,
that's
whatever.
Right.
So you came to Texas.
Came to Texas for swimming, fell in love with Texas, and again, railroad business. So I've been very, very fortunate.
What were you doing in the railroad business?
I was in marketing and sales, actually. Okay. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
So you probably learned some business and sales and marketing stuff in railroad. That was probably somewhat helpful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very, very, very much so. You can learn all you want in school and college, and I went back, got my MBA too. But there's nothing like real life experience.
Yeah.
A lot of people think they have to go to college, and I think that's great if they want to.
Yeah.
But if they have the mindset, you learn a lot of things in college, but a lot of the things in the real business world is really what I would consider common sense. Mm-hmm. Treat people well, be honest, have integrity, make sure your customers are happy type of thing. I mean, these are all common sense things, right?
Yeah.
So,
but they're not always common. You say common sense.
Well, maybe to me
common
they are. I don't know, but so I've been very fortunate. I've been able to, over my career, I've been able to play with trains, and now I get to play with beer. Trains and beer. Just hopefully not at the same time, right? Right? Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a great career.
But when did you say? So obviously it's in your blood, like literally in your blood. When did you say I want to open up my own?
I'll tell you a quick story.
Okay.
I was in the corporate world.
Okay.
A young man in my early 30s, climbing that proverbial, ladder.
Yeah.
I was a director. I was being promoted to VP.
Wow.
And I got tired of the political bullshit. Oh, can I say that?
You can say that.
Okay. So I don't like the political games.
Yeah.
I could play it very, very well, and I did, but it didn't really sit with who I thought I was and what I was about from a moral and or ethical standpoint. I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
I didn't like trying to work with people who, instead of wanting to do their jobs, they were more worried about how to keep their jobs, if you know what I mean.
That's right.
Self-preservation.
Self-preservation and at anyone's expense. Mm-hmm. And I finally came home and I was just so frustrated. I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I just decided, if I want to have the ability to change course, if I want to have the ability to change what I'm doing, if I want that type of flexibility, I've got to be able to do it myself.
Yeah.
I need to be in charge. I need to have that control. I don't want people to be miserable. I want to affect change now. I don't want to have to go through 18 levels of management to get something done. Yeah. So I had brewing experience. I came from a beer family. I loved beer. I loved making beer. I was like,
were you making beer kind of at home?
I hadn't for a long time. And so I just decided to start home brewing again, and then decided I want to open a brewery. I'm not going down my family's path in the malting business.
Yep.
I'm going to be their customer. They're going to have to kiss my ass, right? So just started kind of reading up some books and getting back into the whole brewing thing, making some beer at home, and then decided to write a business plan.
And this, what year was this?
This was 2003-ish.
And no one is doing that.
Nobody was doing. Well, not here. Not in Texas.
Not like no one.
Very, very few craft breweries in Texas.
Home brewing.
Craft beer wasn't a phrase.
Yeah.
Like was it like in the common normal culture? Like,
and it sure as hell
down in Austin, I think
like
there was that vibe because they had some brew pubs. They had some great brew pubs.
But it sure as heck wasn't like a legitimate.
No, it wasn't.
Like microbrew.
Shiner was the craft beer, right? Yeah. So funny story. I'm writing a business plan. I get done with it. I'm going, I need someone to look this over. Mm-hmm. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is the first. So I called up my old professor at TCU, Dr. Bill Moncrief.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, this is what I'm doing. Can I drop off a copy of my business plan? And would you give me a real opinion? Mm-hmm. Don't hold back. Just let me know what you think. He goes, sure. So I dropped it off, let's say on a Monday. Mm-hmm. He got back to me by Wednesday.
Okay.
And he's like very serious. He goes, can you come in and talk to me about this? And I felt like a student back in college again, getting oh my God.
Yes, sir.
Waiting for that F or the D or the C minus,
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there going, oh, yeah, sure, Dr. Moncrief, you bet. So I went in on I think the very next day, maybe it was Friday, and I'm sitting across from his desk feeling very small, very, very student-like, right? Yeah. And he looks at me and he goes, you were here for 6 years, right? What the hell is this? And I guess I just became flushed. I thought I was going to faint or cry. And before he could say anything else, he just started laughing. And then I heard like his assistants out in the office start laughing. And he looked at me and goes, this is really good. I mean, where was this when you were in school? So the insult did finally come out, right?
Okay.
So I said, I don't know, maybe I actually did pick up something when I was at school and going through my MBA. So he goes, that's great. I don't think I would change a thing.
Oh, wow.
I think you're right on target. Yeah, I think he said, go get him. So after that, I felt confident that I could actually go out to prospective investors, family members, and not have them look at me in a goofy way like, what the hell are you trying to do?
That was that like confidence booster.
That was a confidence booster that, hey,
does
this is good.
Does he know that he did that?
Oh, yeah. We talk about it all the time.
Okay. Does TCU talk about it? I mean, that's cool.
I think sometimes. I had done a lot with TCU the first probably 10 years of the brewery. I would go over and do some guest lecturing and stuff. Yeah. A lot of that's kind of stopped, and then COVID hit, and then they're not doing a lot of that. But, yeah, so that was a real big boost. I felt very confident going. I needed money.
Yeah.
And this kind of pairs into with one of your questions about advice for others.
Yeah, give me some advice.
So
what lessons did you learn?
We went through, I thought, okay, I'm going to need X. And if I can get X, I can open up the brewery and start selling a whole bunch of beer and make a whole bunch of money and just be happy. Woo, woo, woo. Let's go party. Rock star lifestyle, right? Yeah. Couldn't be further from the truth. So I raised the money I thought I needed. And
So you went on asked people.
Lots of family and friends.
Friends, family, and fools.
Did you ever go to
basically
a bank?
no fools, just friends and family. Okay. They might consider themselves fools for actually getting involved in it.
The 3 Fs normally is friends, family, and fools.
Did you go to a bank at all?
I did. I went to, at that time, it was Summit Bank.
Okay. Did they reject you?
No, they actually gave me a line of credit.
Oh, cool.
They were great. They were very, very supportive. They read the business plan. They thought it was great.
Oh, wow. See, most entrepreneurs, I feel like they just get rejected.
Yeah, they go to banks.
They have to go to the family and friends and stuff. But
I think they got involved because we had a lot of other money coming in that was supporting it. So it wasn't like the majority. It was a small loan comparative to what the total amount came in for starting up the brewery.
Okay, that I feel like is normal. Or I guess more normal for entrepreneurs. They because we always say that banks are like, yeah, we'll give you money only if you have someone else that has money coming in too,
Exactly.
And so that was the case though.
Well, plus, they took the first lien, so we had all this equipment, so they had something. Although at that point in time, brewery equipment wasn't really valuable. Yeah. It really wasn't. And the stuff that we had as hell wasn't worth anything.
So back to your advice. You said you had some.
So started up the brewery, and just to make a long story short, we weren't capitalized right. I think I opened up the brewery with a bare minimum. I was so excited to get going. I was so excited to sell beer, make beer, that I thought, we're going to make all this money is going to come in and we're going to be fine. Hadn't really thought about cash flow and what that meant, and buying in bulk materials, bulk bottles, bulk everything. It was all trailer load, truckload sizes, so it was expensive. You had to shell out a shit ton of money.
And it's like months later until you sell it and actually make
Well, it's over the next couple of months that you're bringing it back, but by the time you start selling it all, you got to buy another truckload.
Yeah.
So it's like this huge catch-up game until you get to a certain volume of sales before you start seeing it level out and start cash flow positive.
You had quit your job.
Quit the job, everything. So very quickly we were starving for cash, which meant that took time away from me selling beer, making beer, because I was basically a one-man show, except we had wonderful volunteers that came in and helped out on packaging days on the bottling line.
Because people were excited.
They wanted to be a part of something local, be a part of the neighborhood business, and it was beer, and they got free beer at the end of the day, so it's a good deal. So I didn't have time to do the things I needed to do to make a brewery successful. I was out trying to raise money all the time.
Yeah.
And I always thought, well, if we had something going, it'd be easier to raise the money because I could show them an actual product instead of something conceptual. And it was, but now you're talking about going back to your own partners, asking for more money, going back to the well to ask for more. And then if you're bringing on new partners and there's dilution and people aren't it was a nightmare. I didn't like that at all. I just wanted to be solvent.
Was there a part in any of it where you're like, I regret doing this? Or were you like,
I'm giving up, or like, dude, this was a mistake?
Yes. And can we get to that in just 2 seconds?
Oh, yeah.
Keep telling the story.
So the lesson that I learned, and this is what I tell, I've had so many people over the last 10 years come into the brewery who are starting up breweries, and they ask, what's the best advice what can you tell me that's really, really important? I said, if you think you need X for capital, go out and get 3X, because you're sure as hell going to need it.
Yeah.
And probably sooner rather than later. I said, if I could do it all over again, I mean, I don't remember what the number was, but let's say it was $1 million I was trying to raise. Yeah. I would have raised 3.
Yeah.
We can relate to that.
So, and I think for a lot of young entrepreneurs who haven't been through the process before, it's so exciting that you think, okay, I've got enough to open up and we'll just wing it and make it work because I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me,
Yeah.
So that's what I always say. And I hope people take that to task, because it really is the most important aspect behind your business plan and having an actual business model to go after is being capitalized. So back to your question, has there ever been a time when, there's been multiple times. And after I opened up the brewery for the first 2 years, it was a real struggle.
Yeah.
Because of cash flow.
Because of cash flow. I mean, I was financially broke. I had no money. And I needed to bring
kids? Did you have kids at that point?
Yeah, I had 2 kids, Will and Hayden.
So they were little.
They were tiny. They were sleeping on bags of grain, 55 pounds. Their bodies fit on a bag of grain about this long,
so
right?
You're just
they were
in
tiny.
there grinding and your cash.
They were tiny, yeah. And the brewery needed money, a lot, to keep going. So brought on a partner, but I needed money personally.
To live.
Yeah.
So I actually took a contract job down on the island of St. Croix at the Hovenza oil refinery, managing their petroleum coke handling system, which paid a lot of money, and it was only for a 2-year period. So I brought a partner on, contracted with him to do 2 years while I did that. Now I was flying back and forth, managing as much as I could and doing what I could.
Working during the day, and then at night you're calling and checking.
Exactly. So, trying to help out as much as I could being away. And then after that 2-year period, I came back and I was liquid again personally.
Yeah.
So I could do what I needed to do. And by that time, things were starting to change in Texas. And from that point on, we just went.
Yeah.
And for the next 4 or 5 years, it was crazy. Couldn't make enough beer.
Really?
At that time. Yeah. So there's been time, I think, in anybody's career, especially with owning a business, there's ups and downs. And, if it was, what's the old saying? If it was really easy, everybody would do it, right?
Yeah.
So, there have been times when I've just wanted to shove the whole thing down the drain. But then you'll be at a brewery tour and you see people drinking your beer and smiling. And, I can always tell when someone really likes the beer because they'll take a sip and they'll look at their husband or wife or their friends, and there's that nod and a smile. And
just did that a second ago.
We just did the nod.
Exactly. You guys did it.
We did.
Damn, this is good.
So, you see that.
Yeah.
And that's, people go, what makes it worthwhile? And it's being successful financially. It's being successful, this, that, and other, winning awards. But for me, the most important thing is when I'm with somebody, they don't maybe not know who I am, or they're sitting at their table and they drink our product, and they do that little nod and smile, and they, I could see them saying, "This is good," or "This is really good," or "Wow, have you?" That's what makes it hit home for me.
Yeah.
So
that's what makes it worthwhile.
I have a couple questions. Well, one is sort of about scaling it and hiring and going from sort of solo to people. So you said it blew up kind of quickly. Like, was there a point where you were like, "Oh my gosh, this is working. I see my drinks in restaurants or at stores, or just people are in the, like, was there a particular moment where you felt like this is happening, this is real?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's one of your questions.
Yeah,
What was one of the most difficult things to manage during that period? And I think, managing employees is always interesting. Managing scaling up a production facility, that's probably the hardest thing to do. And I was always told to do it slow and conservative. Mm-hmm. So we didn't, for a period of time, we just kind of did what we could to keep growing and growing and growing, because the most important thing on the beer side is maintaining quality.
Yeah, how do you do that on a bigger scale?
If you blow up really, really fast, you may actually lose your ability to brew a quality beer because you're so focused on getting beer out the door. Mm-hmm. You may rush it. You may do something, or you may do something that takes your focus away from the quality of the product. Mm-hmm. And it was some of the best advice I ever got
was from slower
from Brock Wagner at St. Arnold Brewing Company, was just slowly. Don't get ahead of yourself. Mm-hmm. Don't get ahead of yourself from a production standpoint where quality can fail. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, then there was that moment like, oh my God, we can't brew it fast enough. Let's go out and buy a whole bunch of equipment. Mm-hmm. And then before you know it, it's like, oh, wait a second, this is really expensive. You got to pay for this stuff.
Yeah. And now you're back at the same kind of like.
And then, once you get to that point, it's like, okay, but now we got to buy more equipment and more equipment and more equipment to keep growing and growing and growing. Sometimes I think, especially in this business environment with everybody, is the model is grow it to a certain point and just be happy with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the trick, not the trick, the hiccup, I think, in the craft beer industry is you have to keep buying equipment if you want to grow. And the bigger you get, oh my God, exponentially, the more expensive it gets.
Yeah.
And things break. You got to fix it. There's maintenance. And I think with a lot of breweries, they don't think through that a lot of times.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, there's just scaling is really, really a challenge. And I'm glad we did it slowly.
Was there any other than slow, was there any other just tricks for scaling? Like if you were giving someone advice on scaling, like procedures or piring or like...
One of the things that I also, when we started up the brewery, I didn't have availability to really new equipment. There wasn't a lot of these companies making craft beer size systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate. I bought the old Abita system, which was a old system out of the Pacific Northwest that was made by a company called JV Northwest. But I wouldn't say it was a very small system. It was a pretty aggressive system for a startup brewery.
You still have that system?
We're still brewing on that system. Really? Cool. Yeah, it still works. It's still fine.
Yeah.
And then the craft beer kind of hits in the early teens of 2000 teens. Mm-hmm. And then, you go to the trade shows and there's hundreds and hundreds of companies making equipment for small brew pubs all the way up to the big guys. And it's not as expensive as it was if I wanted to have something built back in 2004.
Yeah.
So the entry to the business today is much easier. Gotcha. It's much more cost effective. Yeah. So when we started, we piecemealed really horrible equipment together. Old, used dairy tanks, brewery equipment, things from like dairy equipment, literally fillers from wherever, just piecemealing everything together.
How'd you know how to like?
I had no idea.
How'd you know to hook?
No
this
idea.
Up to this?
I read some books and did my research and had some help from some other people in the industry who actually helped me go pull the brewery out of Abita.
Oh, you really got it?
Oh, we pulled it out. We cut it out. We helped load it up on trucks and we shipped it to Fort Worth.
How'd you even know that they were selling it?
There was a couple brokers who did sell brewery equipment.
And you had to go disassemble a thing and bring it back.
Oh, yeah. I remember, I know I'm digressing, but I remember being at Abita and I'm on top of this tank and there were some electrical lines going to it for probes and things. Luckily, low voltage.
You have a flashback of your great
Kind of. It was kind of like that.
Yeah.
We weren't smart enough to double check to make sure all the power was turned off to the system. So I'm up there with my, clippers, my big two-handed wire cutters, and I go boom on this small cable.
Pop.
And all of a sudden it popped. It threw me back off the tank. I fell down about 6 feet right on my ass.
Gosh.
Didn't hurt myself, but I tripped everything in the Abita brewery.
Shut down their facility.
Everything shut down.
No way.
They were in the middle of a packaging run. They were brewing. I mean, the whole thing went dark.
You're like, who let this railroad guy in here?
Oh, exactly. And the guy I was with, who was helping me, looked at me. He was like, "Are you okay? I mean, seriously."
All right, guys, we're interrupting your podcast experience once again,
I know. I'm sorry.
but we are giving you something for free.
So it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
We recently released a document called The Storytelling Pathway on our website. It is our playbook for success, for growing brands, for marketing. That's literally everything that we do at 6th Avenue Storytelling, and we want to share it with the world. We want to give it to you.
So in addition to these nuggets that you're learning on this podcast, you can get our free playbook, free manual for how you grow your business from
6th Avenue
6th Ave
Storytelling. Yeah, it's the storytelling, and it's really, really good.
Where do you find it?
It's 6thAvenueStorytelling.com.
There you go.
And it's good. Go get it. Go download it. I promise it's going to help your business.
It's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm sure my hair was just like in the cartoons, So, yeah, crazy stuff. Today, brew equipment's, I wouldn't say dime a dozen, but boy, you could go out and buy some really, really good equipment, make really, really, really good beer really, really, really quick if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Way easier. And I think that's why you see so many breweries. I mean, when I started in Texas, we had, I think, maybe 8 craft breweries, and 2 of us were brand new. Us and independents started at the exact same time.
Yeah.
We're down in Austin. And today, I want to say there's over 300 in just North Texas alone.
Wow. So yeah, I want to ask about that. In the 2010s, you're saying that we had that craft beer explosion where everybody and their brother wanted to make craft beer from home, and they're going to start a new brand. They're going to start.
It just became popular.
Yeah.
Like we only knew Coors Light, Bud Light,
Miller
and all of a
Lite.
sudden it's like, oh my gosh, there's a way better way of.
Yeah, there were some government things that happened too at that time that made it a little bit more friendly to open up a brewery.
Okay.
They changed some of the labeling laws, which allowed other breweries from outside the state to come in and sell beer.
Oh, okay.
So at one time in history back then, there's all this new beer coming in. It really turned on the general public. People, I mean, Austin already had kind of its thing.
Yeah.
St. Arnold's was down in Houston doing their thing, but up here there was nothing.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden there was this influx of craft beer that came in, and it really turned people on. And the thing about craft beer, which is so much fun, and what I think it's one of its best attributes, is that it brings community together. Mm-hmm. I talked about volunteers at the brewery, and I never had to ask anybody for help. Everybody offered.
Wow.
Everybody wanted to help out. Everybody wanted to be a part of something local, something in their backyard, something that they could put their arms around and call their own. And I think that's what happened with Rahr Sons, as being the only game in town. People loved it. People loved having something in their backyard that they could be proud of and say, "Here, try this. This is brewed in my town." And we're incredibly proud of it.
You're like, if you go on a Wednesday or a Saturday, like a lot of those are volunteers, right?
Not anymore. No, we've actually, because they got to be such an operation, and we've gone to multiple days. We're open now Wednesday through Sunday.
It got so big.
We had to go.
For a long time, they were volunteers.
Volunteers, yeah. So we went. Now we're a paid
but
staff.
I do think part of your success was, one, it was really good. Two, it was also the first in Fort Worth. It introduced this idea to Fort Worth, I would argue, in a lot of ways. But the third thing is this idea of community. You were allowing people to volunteer, and you were doing your brewery wasn't just a place where you made beer. It was a community hub.
It was a place of fellowship.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
And so many people, we had to tell people, no, we don't need any help. But then you'd see that person getting a trash can and going and emptying it in the dumpster all without asking, without doing anything. And we've never had a major, what I would call vandalism experience in the 16, 17 years that we've been open.
That's crazy.
Well, we've had a couple of altercations with people, but to be perfectly honest, they came at class reunions where like old girlfriends and boyfriends get in the fight because their wives and husbands don't like the fact that they're talking to their old high school sweetheart kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we've had a couple of those, but never anything really, really, really egregious.
But did you have to facilitate that? I mean, was it as simple as just opening the doors and setting good beer down? Or I'm assuming you did something to facilitate bringing people in and experiencing sort of this fellowship and community. Like, I'm sure there was some thought behind it.
We made beer, we opened up the brewery, and people could come in and drink beer.
It was that simple.
It was that simple. And we weren't flashy. We're still not flashy.
Yeah.
We are a warehouse.
Yeah.
We're not the bells and whistles of some of these new breweries that have opened up and have gorgeous tap rooms and stuff. We're still nuts and bolts, very raw.
But that's kind of the charm to it.
That's kind of part of the je ne sais quoi, or whatever they would call it, of the brewery. People kind of like that.
But no one was doing that at the time, right?
Nobody was really. No, we were kind of following. I'd lived in Houston and had gone to St. Arnold's tours, and to be perfectly honest, that's what they were doing, and I was like, I liked that. That felt good. It felt warm, welcoming, inviting.
Yeah.
So I said, that's what I want to do. And that's what we did. And it just morphed into its own animal. It was wonderful. It was like everybody wanted, and I said this before, wrap their arms around it and call it their own. And you were asking, I think before you were going to mention, any altercations or how did people, no, we haven't. People would come into the brewery, and if they saw something going on that shouldn't be going on, they would handle it themselves.
Yeah.
Because they wanted the brewery to stay. They wanted the brewery to be successful. They wanted to, have that ownership where they could make a difference, make a change.
Yeah.
And my question was, how did you survive? Like, in my mind, whenever you see this explosion and all these breweries are opening up, or all these companies are opening up around you, especially just within Fort Worth, you're like, oh my gosh, I go from zero competition essentially in Fort Worth to, and you're looking at Texas too, but then now 8 to 300 is just crazy. And it's like, how do you survive? How do you even not survive, but thrive during that? And you kind of answered it. It's like you are Fort Worth's like brewery. It's like,
well, let's talk about competition.
Yeah.
So when we opened up the brewery, no, there wasn't a lot of craft beer competition. But we were going into bars that only had 3 and 4 taps.
Yeah.
Right? So we were competing against Guinness, Bud, Miller, Coors, and a Shiner tap that was almost always there. So it was very, very difficult to get a tap placement unless you were lucky enough to find a bar, restaurant, whatever, who wanted to support local. And we did. There were a lot of them, and they're still some of our biggest accounts. So that was our competition at the time. We were competing against the big guys for space, not only for tap space at the bars and restaurants, but for shelf space.
Yeah.
The beer box wasn't as big as it is today. So let's fast forward to all of a sudden having all this competition, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? Now all of a sudden we have beer bars, and your local bar that would once have 4 taps, now they've got 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even though we had more competition from a craft standpoint,
More people are drinking it.
there's now exponentially more places that you can put your beer on tap, that you're not fighting over 4 tap spaces.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty standard. You go to a place now, and they might have 20 taps.
Agreed.
And a lot of places now have 50. Yeah. And there's a lot more of those places around town.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they changed some laws. There's a craft explosion, and there's a lot more craft breweries out there. But there are so many more places to put your product. Grocery stores are now, the beer box is now, 20 yards long.
A whole aisle.
Yeah, a whole aisle, plus maybe some extra end caps and all this stuff.
So you felt like you didn't have to, it was less competition, or not less competition, but it was more opportunity. The pie grew, and you just had your space.
Right, at that point in time. Today, the space hasn't grown as much. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds more breweries in Texas.
Yep.
And now we've got the seltzer thing going on. So there's been an impact there for sure.
Yeah.
Just on different styles, different categories of products coming in that are cutting into the beer segment.
Sure.
So,
man.
but it's constantly changing. You've got to be able to flex with it and change quickly. And unfortunately, we don't do it as fast as maybe some others, but we eventually get there and make the right decisions. Mm-hmm. So,
how do you? So one of the things that fascinates me about your industry is I can fathom. Okay, I've made this great tasting product. I got this community thing going. We're figuring out how to do production, but you now have to take this and make these cans, and I now got to somehow get them into all these 50 restaurants and into all these grocery stores, and the distribution piece of it in the beginning, especially if there's only Coors, there's only Bud Light. Was it hard figuring out how to go get it in places?
I'll tell you, when we first started, we were self-distributing.
So someone was loading up a truck, and
it was me. It was me. I brewed it. I went out and delivered it, and I sold it.
Really?
Yeah, in the beginning. And it was, at first, I thought it was really easy because most everybody around town said, sure, I'll throw a keg on. We'll help you out. We'll do that.
Every week you go in and drop enough new kegs?
Hang on. You're getting ahead of yourself here.
Do that.
And I would go through 2 kegs at let's just say, bar A.
Yeah.
And I'd go back and I go, oh, you want some more beer? Oh, no, we're not going to. We're not. If you got cans or something, or bottles, we'll bring it in. But we're not going to do draft anymore. And I said, well, geez, you sold 3 kegs in a week. Oh, it sold great. And I said, so what's the problem? He goes, well, I took XYZ off to put you on, but these guys take me on trips. They take me to the Masters in Augusta. They take me skiing and call the big boys.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm not going to give up that.
Oh, wow.
I said, just put you on to help you get exposure, and it sold well, and we're happy to support you, but I'm not going to put you on tap. I only have 4 tap handles.
Yeah.
And, I've got to give one to each of the majors, and, I switch out this for this every other month to get something different. But, I might put you on every now and then, but no, I don't need you now. Man. So it's like there was an immediate rush of really great sales, and then a lot of that, unfortunately. And that was a real eye-awakening experience because, a lot of stuff that was probably going on wasn't supposed to be going on,
it's kind of
right?
like payola in the music industry. You have these major labels that
so it's
paying DJs.
It's like you're competing in this market. It's like, I don't have that kind of money.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I can't do these specials. I can't. You just keep hammering and keep going to new places and new places and new places and just slowly find niches in that market at that time.
Yeah.
And people wanted to support a local brewery.
Yeah.
But you're driving it around yourself.
Oh, yeah, I'm driving around myself. I would brew 2 days a week and then deliver 2 or 3 days a week.
You
It was funny.
A semi or a boxcar?
I had what my boys called Big Red. It was like an Isuzu or some 16 or 18 foot deep red cab. The whole thing was red. Mm-hmm. Box truck with our label logos on the side. And it's funny because during the school year, I sometimes would have to pick up the kids. And I would pull up to Ridgely Hills Elementary in this big ass beer truck, and all these parents are looking like, what's going on? Here's this beer truck pulling up, getting kids. Or during the summertime when the kids weren't in school, they sometimes came out with me for shits and giggles to deliver beer. So it wouldn't be unusual to be at the Flying Saucer or to be at H3 Ranch Steakhouse downtown or somewhere over in Dallas, and I'm cleaning lines in the cold box, cleaning whatever, and the boys are sitting at the bar having a root beer or in a basket of fries. So it was really kind of fun and interesting. The boys got really used to being in bars.
Yeah, sure.
It was a comfortable place for them. They knew the people.
Yeah.
And a funny quick story, they were probably early teens, and I was at the brewery, and it was summertime, and they said, "Dad, can we take the bikes and go down to the movie theater downtown?" I was like, "Oh, sure, absolutely."
From the brewery over on South Main.
Yeah. No big deal, right? So they go to the movie, and I'm just kind of going, "Guys, getting kind of late." And we did have cell phones then, but they weren't like smartphones, right? They were just flip phones and stuff. So I finally call them after the movie's been out for like a half an hour, right? And I go, "Where are you guys?" "Oh, we're at the Flying Saucer." Like, what are you doing?
You have to be 21 to be in the Flying Saucer.
I was like, "What do you?" Well, that's also kind of a restaurant kind of thing. I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "We're sitting at the bar with Uncle Bubba." I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Having a piece of pizza and having a root beer." I said, "Oh, okay." Well, so that's who they knew. I mean, they were like,
that's their connection.
we know people at the bars. We know people. So so that was just, I kind of knew I was in up to my neck at that point in time.
Let's talk about kids.
And then I knew the boys were going to be a part of the brewery somehow, somewhere.
So the other question I want to ask you was just about legacy. It's Rahr Sons is what you called it even before you had sons, right?
Yeah, I'm a traditionalist at heart, and my family's business, after it was the Rahr Brewery, they changed it to the William Rahr Sons Company, and it was meant for generations, right? And I always thought, if I opened something up, I'd have something built that they would become a part of, and maybe, hopefully, some way, shape, or form, they would be generations of Rahrs working for the company in any way, shape, form of the company, if it just existed in some way.
That's right.
So the boys early on both started working part-time at the brewery, doing odds and ends, working on the packaging line, cleaning, summer work just to make some extra money. And then my oldest, Will, decided he wanted to go through the Siebel Institute brewing program online. And he was working in the brewery doing various things. And I said, "Okay, you serious? Because it's going to take some time. It's going to take some commitment."
Yeah. And
he did it. He went through and got his certificate in brewing from Siebel Institute.
Was it easy for him? Because he grew up around it?
It's not. What was great about it was one of the prerequisites of the course was you had to have a brewery that you could go in and do some practical work, test stuff. Yeah. And I was like, well, okay, we got that. Yeah. So that was really easy for him. But yeah, he worked his ass off, and he went through the program and did really, really well. And now he's one of my. Well, he's my lead. He's one of my lead brewers.
Is he really?
He's an excellent brewer. He made probably the stuff that you're drinking right now. And then my youngest, Hayden, he's a couple of years younger.
Yeah.
He's got the gift for gab. He's a perfect sales guy.
Got the gift for gab.
He loves to talk. He's really good at it. He could sell you anything. So we got him involved in sales. So he's one of my head salespeople out in the market, slinging beer and doing a great job. So as a father and a parent to these two kids who, man, they're not kids anymore. They're 25 and 23.
Yeah.
They're young men. It is probably the best feeling a dad could have.
Absolutely.
Is watching your children be leaders in the industry and being respected and having people look at them as, not just the sons of some owner of some company getting a free ride. I mean, these two kids work their asses off.
Yeah.
And, everybody thinks being a brewer is a rock star job, but it's really not. I mean, at first it really is because it's new and different, but it's a hard job. It's long hours. It can be really long hours in horrible conditions. The brewery during the summertime is blazing hot, and you're around a kettle of 212 degrees heat. So it can be a real gruel sometimes. And they do it, and they do it because I hope they love it.
Yeah.
I think they do it partly because they want to be part of the family business. Maybe they feel obligated a little bit to do it. I don't know. But
they both did it by choice. It wasn't like you pressured them into doing it.
I hope it was by choice.
Yeah.
I was growing up. I always felt pressured to go into the family business.
Yeah.
And I almost did, but I didn't. I got sidetracked because of where I went to school, and I was away from the family business, being in Texas, so I wasn't around it. I think if I would have stayed in Minnesota, I probably would have felt obligated, and I would have gone into the family business.
Sure.
But I didn't, and that's what happened. So, and I always told the kids, you don't have to do this.
Yeah, sure.
You can do whatever you want. You can stop and go experience something else. This is the time of your life where you need to go do it.
Yeah.
Because the older you get, the harder it will be to go do something like that. So I've always said, I mean, even now, if it's something that you don't want to do, you want to go try something else, I'll help you. Just let me know what you want to do. And then when you're ready to come back, come back. If you don't want to come back, you found something that you really, really love, then that's perfectly fine with me too.
And did you like do anything to cultivate that? Like, was it like where obviously they were coming, you're picking up in the truck, they were doing deliveries and stuff like that, on and in jobs. But was it something that you talked about legacy? Like, did you talk about your family, tell them stories about where you're doing it? Or
they know the family history. It's funny. One of the main reasons why they got involved working in the stuff early on was because, they kept coming with a hand going, can I have some money?
Yeah.
Can I have, whatever?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you can, but let's how about we get in the brewery and do something to maybe earn the money.
You got to earn it.
And then once they started working and they started earning money and the amount of money that they could earn, they were kind of like, hey, this is all right. I've got money. I can.
But just making your kids work, I think is like, my parents made me have a job from the time I was like 14, 15.
Yeah.
I worked every summer.
And my parents did too, even though I was swimming.
Yeah.
30 hours a week, 30, 40 hours a week. I still had to have some sort of a summer job during that time of my life. So I think it's very important.
And how did your family, whenever, you're out of the business not out of the business, you didn't go, 10 years, you're in a completely different industry, and then you come back, and instead of joining the family business, quote unquote, you're like, well, I am, but I'm doing it my own way.
It's funny. One of your questions on your sheet was, what did people say when you told them you were going to go open up a brewery?
About that.
And I remember where I was. I was in Florida, on the East Coast, kind of Palm Beach area, doing a sales call. And I was in the hotel lobby in the morning, and I was just about ready to turn in my resignation at the railroad. And I was talking to my parents. So my mom's on the phone, and my dad was on the phone, a different phone, but same conversation. And I said, hey, there's going to be some news coming out probably tomorrow. I don't want to blindside you with it, but I'm leaving. I'm resigning from my job.
Yeah.
And they go, why? What are you going to do? And I said, I'm opening a brewery.
You hadn't told him yet.
Yeah.
And my mom said, you're what? Are you fucking crazy? Am I not? My mom, when she got mad, she might drop the F-bomb, but not in just casual conversation like that.
Oh, my gosh.
And she was like, are you nuts? Do you have any idea what you're doing? Because she knew what the kind of career path I was on at the railroad. She goes, you're giving up the golden parachute to go start a what? And this went on for about...
You've done that before.
This went on for about 2 or 3 minutes on the phone, and I'm just sitting listening to my mom just rip me to pieces. not in a bad way, but just kind of like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Yeah. Also, my dad chimes in and goes, and if you ever knew my dad, he would always go, ho, ho, ho. I think that's terrific.
No, that's what he said.
Wow.
And my mom on the other phone goes, oh, Fritz, shut up. That was my dad's name too. Fritz, shut up. And so that was it. That's how they found. I told nobody.
But your dad
nobody knew what I was going to do because I didn't want to lose my job at the railroad.
Yeah.
Because it took me 6-8 months to put a business plan together, to do all this. I didn't want to have it get out that I was doing this, and then maybe the railroad might fire me and get rid of me, and then not have a job if the brewery thing didn't start, right? So it was very much on a down low.
But your dad was excited.
He loved it.
And you and your dad are close.
Did he get to come down? And
he was happy that I was going into the industry, doing my own thing. Because I think he really, in some way, wanted me to be a part of the family business, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And that I was doing the brewery, and I think that just tickled him.
Absolutely.
Because he's like, okay, you're going to be part, but you can do your own thing. That's great.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, but I remember that morning like it was yesterday.
How did you leave? Did you leave it feeling excited or scared or what at that conversation?
I was petrified, but I was petrified before I had that conversation. I was scared to death. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I'd never started up a company before. Nobody ever really talked to me about how to do something like that. Mm-hmm. It's not really what I studied heavily in college. And even if you did, but if you've never done it before, how do you really know what you're doing?
Yeah.
So we made a lot of mistakes, but learned very, very quickly.
What do you like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What is sort of the vision there?
At my age, 5 years from now, I'm hoping I'm close to being able to pass it on and be done.
Yep.
I'm 54. Yeah, by the time I'm 60, I'd like to be done and not worrying about it. To be perfectly honest, it's been a long haul.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't want to say it's a young man's game, but in a lot of ways it is.
Yeah.
So I like to just see the boys kind of doing their thing and taking it to whatever level they want to, or whatever they want to do with it is fine.
Big or small?
Big or small.
You're just excited.
They can expand it. They can sell it. They can, whatever floats their boat.
Wow.
It's really up to them.
It's just the legacy.
I will have done my part. And
so do you feel like a piece, like I did it? I like built this thing. I feel good. My kids are now happy. Like, do you have like a piece from that?
I do when everything's going really well, and then when there's financial hiccups, I just go, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
So, but it really is it's an up and down business. It's especially with COVID. COVID was.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. The worst thing is having to say goodbye to an employee, a teammate. I don't want to say employee, a team member. Yeah. And laying off or firing somebody is such a hard thing to do, and it happens once in a while.
Yeah.
But when COVID hit, we went from this business to losing 60% of our business overnight.
Wow.
Because the bar business was 60% of our business. Mm-hmm. So what do? Well, you immediately have to cut expenses, cut people.
Yeah.
But I think we did it well. We didn't say goodbye to anybody.
Yeah.
We furloughed people, but we still paid for their health benefits.
Wow.
Just couldn't pay them. We didn't have the cash flow.
Yeah.
And we went from 33 people literally down to 12.
Yeah.
And we kept producing beer, but all we did was can. Yeah. And we all pitched in and we all did things. And luckily we were able to sell a lot of beer through our Beer to Go program.
Yeah.
And because bars were closed, people were going out to the grocery stores buying beer.
Yeah.
And liquor stores buying beer. So from a package standpoint, we did well enough to keep positive cash flow going forward. And then as COVID started opening up, we started bringing people back.
Yep.
And then we were all shut down again for a short period of time.
And a big
so
part,
we had to.
A big part of your business is also at the brewery.
At the brewery, yeah. A big chunk of our revenue on an annual basis comes through the social aspect of what goes on at the brewery, the tastings, the tours, private parties, events.
Yeah.
So that was a huge hit as well. So, we went through 2 furloughs because of the opening up, and then they shut down again, then they opened back up. And, basically everybody had their job to come back to, but a couple people didn't.
Yeah.
A couple people enjoyed staying home or decided, I'm gonna be a stay-at-home mom or dad. Or I'm getting a lot of money from the government to stay home. I'm making more money staying home than I am working. Why do I want to come back and work?
Yeah.
And that still is a big issue, at least for us. We have a really hard time filling right now sales positions. We have multiple positions open, but hard to find really good quality people.
Yeah.
Because for so long, people were just sitting at home getting their benefits from the government, and which is fine. It's your choice. But from a standpoint of getting quality people, experienced people to jump right back in has been really, really difficult. Yeah. It's getting a little bit easier now. Things are starting to kind of flow back into a normal process.
Yeah.
But man, for the past year, it's been tough. It's been real tough.
Yeah.
So, and I think people hear those stories all over the country.
Yeah.
It's not just our industry. I think it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was food and beverage industry. That was like
food and beverage service industry for sure.
The hardest.
Oh, absolutely.
On the topic of employees, I want to ask you about your culture, because it's my perception as an outsider that your culture is also really neat, and that I feel like you do some things that, again, as an outsider, it looks like you have a great culture that people would want to be a part of. Two things that I noticed as a spectator was, one, there was 2 different times I went to the brewery, and I remember one time they were like Jim and Metallica, and I think I went another time and they were like Jim and super loud, like the Backstreet Boys or something.
Are you talking about just in the brewery itself
in the
during
brewery,
production?
And I remember asking,
okay, so the deal is we have a PA system that'll play music, whatever, but everybody gets a different day.
Yeah, but and that's one of the things that, like, I asked you about it. You said
everybody gets a little bit different day, and it may not be for the full day. They might get the first part, for their shift. They're in charge of the music for the shift, and they get to play whatever the hell they want to play.
But that's part of your culture, right?
And hell be it if you don't like it, you got to live with it. And then tomorrow could be your turn, and it could be payback, or it may not be. People may like what you like to play, but that's kind of the rules of the road in the brewery. Is people get to. They get their time to play what kind of music that they like. Yeah.
But what else? The other thing I was going to say, that struck me. I thought that was very cool as an owner, that you sort of give them, make this experience your own.
It's funny because sometimes I'll notice the music and this music there, and I like all different kind of music, right? And then all of a sudden somebody will start playing some death metal.
Yeah.
And it's just that guttural, and the boom, 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 boom. And for some reason, they're playing it at 200 feet away from me at the far end of the brewery, but because of the acoustic shadows, it feels like they're playing it inside my head. And I'm at my desk and I'm trying to get work done, and it's just I could see the water glass just vibrate.
Like Jurassic Park.
Oh my God, can we just turn it down a little bit?
Yeah.
This can't be safe. We got to be able to hear people if something happens, right? So I sometimes have to go out and go, can you just turn it down just a little bit for me, please? Just old crotchety guy in the office, could you turn it down for me, please?
But what are the other things you have done to make the employee culture special? I know you, like, if someone's been there a certain amount of years,
we do some fun things. So every year on your anniversary, up to 4 years, every month we'll do a cake for anniversaries and birthdays for people, and it's just something fun and silly. That's cool. But on the 5th anniversary, you become part of the boot club, and it's something where I do kind of on my own. It's something that I want to do to show my appreciation to our teammates. So at 5 years, we get to go out and we'll go down to Lusky's here with Mike Lusky, and we have a pair of custom-made cowboy boots made.
Yeah.
And hopefully they'll put the Rahr logo on it somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not mandatory.
But you buy them, you let them make a pair of custom cowboy boots.
Cowboy boots. They have $1 value that they can go up to, and
those are not cheap.
Well, it's not cheap. Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not, and every year they seem to get more expensive. But it's fun. It's something that I like to do personally. Just to show my appreciation for being a part of the family. Yeah. And it's fun. And so the 5-year boot club, I think we've got 10 people now in it.
Oh, that's cool.
And my VP of sales and my North Texas sales manager were both hired on the same day, and they just got their 5 years. And we were going to go out like 3 weeks ago, but one of the guys was sick, so we postponed it, and we still have to reschedule it. Yeah. But we'll go down to the stockyards, and we'll go to one of the restaurants that support us really well, like Risky's Barbecue, H3 Ranch, Cattleman's, and some of the others. But we'll go do the boots first. We'll all meet up at Lusky's and watch them go through the whole process of doing the boots, and then we go out and we may go to the basement bar and have a couple beers, and then after that we go have dinner as a big group.
That's fun.
And afterwards, some people still go out, but at my age, I'm just like, okay, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm going home.
I'm out.
Yeah. But so that's something we do. And then at 10 years, I haven't yet to do it yet, but my creative guy, Jeff.
He's a genius.
Jeff Wood. He's amazing. He's met his 10 years.
Wow.
And I always said at 10 years, I'll take you on a trip. We'll go over to Europe, and we'll spend 4 or 5 days going around to various breweries for experience.
Wow.
Fun. And hopefully we might learn a little something too at these different breweries on how they...
Is it scheduled? Is it happening?
Well, we haven't scheduled it yet because it's gotten kind of crazy this year. I've got another guy coming up in his 10 years, so we may wait till spring. We'll do it in the springtime and do it together.
That's so awesome.
But that'll be a great time. So, other than that, I haven't thought about 15 or 20. Haven't gotten there yet, but 10 years. I never thought I was going to get to 10 years anyway. So
that's right.
So
that's really
so
cool.
It's really fun that we actually have some of the employees getting
10 years
to 10 years. So
that's really cool.
So those are some of the fun things. The culture. Everyone goes, how did you create your culture? And I think one of the interesting, great things about the brewery, both as internal teammates working for a company and for people outside experiencing the brewery as a whole, is I don't think we created anything. I mean, we didn't go out purposely trying to do anything. I think the neat thing about the culture at the brewery is that it created itself. We created an atmosphere where it was inviting, warm. You talk about fellowship.
Yeah, but you had to create that atmosphere. It doesn't happen.
Okay. So we opened the doors, we made beer, and we invited people to come drink.
Yeah.
So I guess in a way we did create, but we didn't do anything after the fact to mold it to a certain degree in any way, shape, or form in any direction.
Well, I think
it just kind of organically grew, and that's kind of what it is.
I think that idea, that philosophy of allowing people to, like the people that are coming in, to be who they are and be themselves, be real, authentic, without trying to create or force a culture onto them. I think that is a culture within itself. I mean, that's obviously, I'm coming to either with your employees to just do a job where I'm not going to be micromanaged, or tell me what music to listen to, or it's the customer coming in and being like, man, I can be myself here. I can enjoy this nice beer with my friends and not have to, feel like it's in a pretentious, like upscale brewery or something like that. I think that within itself is like a cool, authentic, real, raw culture.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that you were looking at is what's my management style kind of thing. And I'm really easygoing.
Yeah.
That's because I wanted to get out of the political crap of corporate world. I wanted it to be dialed down, relaxed. And so I'm really easy for a management style, and maybe sometimes I'm way too easy. But I allow the people who I work with do their jobs.
Yeah.
I've got enough crap to worry about where I don't want to have to get involved in somebody else's responsibilities.
Yeah.
Now, finding those people, that's a different story. So you have to go through certain people. You watch people, and you promote people, and you do the things that you need to do. But what's really great is once you found a person where you can just let them go and do their thing, it's so much easier to do the things that you need to do to get the job done. And, on a personal basis, you may not be the same type of person. You may have different social ideas of what you like and what you don't like, and maybe politics and this and that. But at work, it's all about work. It's all about having the same goal, the same idea, the same passion for what you're doing. And it's so refreshing when you can find those people who you can walk away for 2 weeks and not even think about it, and come back and know that you've got the right people in place to get the job done. And I am so fortunate from all aspects of the business that I don't have any problem stepping away for a 2-week trip if I have to go do something, or a vacation.
How long did it take you to get to that?
The hardest thing for me, and I think maybe a lot of people might agree, is when you have your own company, is giving up control. And that's giving up control of a lot of different things. Giving up control of putting in bills into your QuickBooks or accounting system.
Yeah.
Giving up control of paying things. Giving up control of the ordering of your raw materials, giving it all that stuff. It's so funny when you do it all. It's hard to give up that control, because you're like, what happens if it's not done right?
We were talking about control earlier.
Yeah.
As the owner,
how can I know it's going to be done?
But was that easy for you?
No, it sucked. It was horrible.
You just made it sound so easy.
It took my board of directors that basically said, Fritz, get out of the books, get somebody else to do it. We're not paying you to do this. And that was one of the hardest things, was not on a daily basis inputting bills, because I felt like if I do that, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling each bill. I know what's going on, this, that, and another. So that was hard, giving up that type of control. But once you do it a few times, and the people you give that control to do a really, really good job, it's really liberating.
Freeing,
It really is. You talk about stress level being taken off your shoulders.
You got to have good people. You got to find.
You got to have good people.
How do you cultivate or find those good people?
It's funny. In the beginning, a lot of the people that are really kind of in control of their departments now, they all started as volunteers.
Wow.
And we've had a lot of people come through our system, and that's kind of like when they're volunteers, it's almost like that's their internship. You get to know what they're like. You get to know what their work ethic is like. You get to know what their capabilities are in a lot of ways. So a lot of the people who are running our departments right now are people that started as volunteers.
That is so interesting.
And a lot of people, and to be honest, a lot of people around town at other breweries were volunteers at our brewery who went through the
Rahr
whole
program.
thing, and they were teammates and everything, and then they went out and they found better opportunities, and that's fine. I've always told our staff that, listen, I'm not someone here to put an employment contract in front of you, non-compete. That's not what I'm all about. I'm all about making sure you can be the best person you can possibly be. And if that means that we don't have that position available for you, I will do my best to help you find that somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I like to think of we're almost like a mentorship program. I would never want to tell somebody you couldn't go to another brewery to help them or to work and expand your horizons because of an employment contract or a non-compete. I think that's in a lot of ways silly when you're talking about, your main production or main sales group of people. Because who knows, those people may go there and work and, you know what, expand their horizons, become a better person, better skilled person, and then come back in a better capacity to help you back at my facility, working with us again. And we've had people come back.
That's cool.
That's cool.
So, and I think that's all part of our culture too.
Yeah.
So
This would be my last question, I think, is one thing that we haven't really hit on is, and one thing that has come out several times as you're talking that has kind of struck me is you created a culture, kind of hands-off approach. You said laid back. I would definitely agree with that. Community-driven, community-focused with your employees and your customers. But then also, I would say there is a huge component of generosity, selflessness, and just giving to people. And I don't know if you would even describe it that way. I hear it that way.
It is. Our tagline, our mission statement, whatever you want, our positioning statement is, community or quality brewed, community strong, Texan proud.
Yeah.
And we have always been a family business wanting to give back to the community because the community has done so much for us.
Yeah.
Especially like when the roof collapsed, the community came out and really helped us through that 8 months of hell trying to get a brewery back up and running. So we've always been focused on trying to give back as much as we can. We do it during our tours where, our Wednesday tours were all about charity and giving money back to charity. We do events at the brewery which are constantly driven, and it's not necessarily just one charity. We do lots of different charities, as many as we possibly can. People come to us saying, hey, can we do this at the brewery? We're like, absolutely.
Yeah.
So recently, my wife, Tara, and I have started a charity group called Rahr to the Rescue. Tara has been, over the years, heavily involved with dog rescue. And through my relationship with her, I have also become very passionate about dog rescue. It just kills me to see a dog being abused or not being loved because they're such a wonderful creature. So we started Rahr to the Rescue, and we are out raising money to help give back to the rescue groups around town who are actually doing the physical dog rescues.
Yeah.
And we've tied the brewery into it as well, because what's better than to have beer and to play with dogs, and it just seems very natural to me. So we do a lot of that. We do a lot of other dog charities at the brewery. We do a lot of childhood diabetes and lymphoma, cancer type things. So we do as much as we can to give back to the community that gives so much to us. In a nutshell.
Before I knew you personally, I had been to countless events, and Rahr was a sponsor. Rahr provided drinks.
Yep.
And just in our nonprofit work that my wife does, like, y'all have donated beer, y'all have donated kegs, y'all always giving back. Y'all.
We try not to ever say no.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are times where we just can't.
Yeah.
But then we try to figure out a way to do something in the future for that group.
I mean, I agree. I mean, sponsored by, donating the beer. It's like, if it is something local to Fort Worth, I feel like your name is there. And I don't, and like a lot of people are like, oh, they just do that for publicity. And it's like, no, man, if you know your team, if you know you, if you've spent any time at all, that is your heart of who you are.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is. It's really a part of what the brewery is all about. It's really a part of who we as employees of the company are all about.
Yeah.
Happy to do it. I think one of the great things about Fort Worth is that it is a very giving community, and we're just happy to be a part of it, to be perfectly honest. So.
Well, I feel like y'all have lived out your mission. Like your mission statement you just said, like you guys have changed the shape of Fort Worth and making it more fun, like a more fun place to go out to eat and drink. Like, you have made a product that we are proud of as a city, and I feel like you've helped foster community in our city, helped foster fellowship in our city, and just have really been a part of just some big things. You know, in my mind, y'all are an institution. You've made our city.
Well, thank you so much. That means a lot.
Honored to have you on the podcast. Thank you for doing what you do. This has been,
man, it's been great. Thanks for having me. Probably talked way too long, but I love talking about it. Talking about beer, the brewery, the family. There's a lot to talk about.
So
and
if people want to take a deeper dive, what's the website?
www.rahrbrewing.com, Facebook, Instagram, I think Snapchat. I mean, all the stuff that the kids do today. I think I tried TikTok for a while, but
you had a TikTok?
I do have. I'm embarrassed, but yeah, I've got.
I don't even have a TikTok.
Yeah.
What is this? Yeah,
I did when it first came out. I just because I wanted to know what it was about.
Yeah.
So I went around, did stupid videos in the office of people, and
I need to go check these out.
yeah, you should check out my TikTok page.
And Rahr to the Rescue. How do we find out about
It's
that?
rahrtotherescue.org.
Okay.
And can I talk just really briefly about what it is?
Yeah, come on.
Because one of the real things that we're doing is really cool. So, my wife Tara, back in years past, she started a lot of the Dallas no-kill dog rescue groups, shelters over there, and we are raising money so we can donate money back to places like Fort Worth Animal Care and Control, Saving Hope, Dog and Kitty City, the people who are actually taking in the animals and have all those expenses. We don't have any expenses. We're just trying to raise money so we can give it back. So all of it goes right back to these shelters.
And you're plugged in and connected to those.
Yeah, luckily through Tara, my wife, we are, because she has those connections, and we've got a great relationship here with Fort Worth Animal Care and Control.
Cool.
Just the other day, we made over 400 cupcakes for dogs. Regular sized cupcakes. It took us all day to do it, but they were having a date night or a birthday party up at the North Campus for a dog adoption event.
Wow, that's cool.
So what we are doing, we are coming out with a line of beer called Rough Ale.
Oh, really?
You get it?
Yeah.
Rough Ale?
RUFF, I'm assuming.
RUFF.
Okay.
And on the can, there's going to be 6 different cans with 6 different dogs on their picture on the can. And these are long-termers. These are dogs that have been at shelters for an exceptionally long time. And we're trying to get them adopted. So there's a QR code on the can, the dog pictures on it, a little description of what Rahr to the Rescue is, and then when you scan the code, it takes you to the website, and it shows you all the different long-term dogs and what they're about and where they are, what group they're with, in case somebody would like to go and adopt one of these long-termers.
Wow, that's cool.
It's just another avenue to bring awareness to people about the crazy crap that goes on in our world and how people abandon dogs and do, in my personal opinion,
what a cool use of
things.
beer.
So yeah,
to do that.
So we're coming out. It'll be sold at the brewery in cans.
Okay.
And the first style of beer that we're doing is a raspberry Berliner Weiss. So it'll be really interesting, really cool.
I'm a huge fan of Berliner Weisses.
So
I'm just gonna I have no idea what that
you
is.
have no idea what that
I
is.
have no idea what that is.
Think of a almost like a brut champagne, a little bit with some fruit flavor in it.
That's cool.
So so that's coming out, and all the proceeds from the sales of this product is going to be put back into donations to the various dog rescue groups around town. And then we'll do another beer, different style of beer with 6 new dogs, and keep doing that. Keep bringing awareness to everybody about
That's cool.
So awesome.
Go rescue this crazy little puppy that needs to needs to have a home.
To see that happen. To see what happens with that.
So it's a lot of fun. I mean, this is going to be aired probably in the future sometime, but tonight we have an event at the brewery for the dog rescue. Sunday we're doing our Barktoberfest after our Oktoberfest, and it's all dog rescue. Bring your dogs to the brewery, meet potentially new forever friends. See how they interact with your dogs, your family, your children.
Yeah.
Eat food, drink some beer. So yeah, that's what we're doing from a charity standpoint for Rahr to the Rescue. Thank you for letting me plug
That's
that.
what it's here for.
Because
it ties in with everything we've talked about.
It ties in with everything, and it's a lot of fun, and it's really it's important to us.
Yeah, that's
Fritz,
awesome.
this is awesome.
Thank you.
It's been really enjoyable.
We're doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, man, thanks for coming on.
You've got plenty of beer.
Yeah, let's keep drinking.
Enjoy yourselves.
Congratulations, you made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Stories with Soul. If you enjoyed the interview and like what you heard, please help us out and share, subscribe, and like anywhere you listen to podcasts. When you share and subscribe, it is insanely helpful and allows us to keep producing new episodes. You can always join us directly in the studio by watching the video version on our website, 6thAveStorytelling.com. Stories with Soul is brought to you by 6th Ave Storytelling, an organic marketing company building standout brands on the foundation of story. You're obsessed with your business, and we want to make the world obsessed with it too. Thanks for listening.